Hi there, Dave Rawlings here at the London Longsword Academy, and today I'm going to have a look at a new sword that was sent to me by a company called Caino. They are turning out a sword specifically for Marozzo. Now I'm going to use this sword here, this Monantepee, made by Marco Danelli, as a size comparison and a feel comparison, and then I'll stick the specs of both up later on. So, as you can see, I have not even unboxed this yet, so we can both be surprised together. Tubing or anything in here as well, which is also very good. Now, this is very interesting. Feel-wise, this feels like one of your lighter feathers, I have to say. Now, they're very, very clear about this. It's not meant to be a replacement for a Monantepee. I think people who like skipping and glancing through their Monantepee forms and Spadonepee forms are going to really, really like this, because it is so light you can do anything with this. The balance feels very, very good. It is so much lighter than I expected, I have to say. I thought this was going to be comparable to a Monantepee in some respect, though obviously, as I say, they are clear that it is not the same. Look. Okay, so there's interesting choices on this. They've made a rolled tip which looks like it could be used for sparring, and the flex certainly seems to suggest you could use this for free play. I mean, that is actually quite thin even for a sparring feather, so it gives you an idea of quite what a delicate piece of kit this is. Really, really not what I was expecting. Now, I believe this comes in at about $3.50. So actually, I'm not going to take all the tape off with this, or the cling film, because I don't want to cut it, so I'll go through this in a little bit more care inside. But just to go through a similar part of the drill, here, it feels beautiful, but it's the difference between holding a knife and a scalpel blade. I'd even potentially say not holding a scalpel blade in comparison to holding a knife. So if I have a reasonable weight knife here, this in comparison to a scalpel blade, it is inconceivably light. This is one hand dexterous. Okay, this is very, 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 very light indeed. Movement wise, if you're one of these people that likes wobbling around all over the place, I will say that one of the interesting things with this is that the flex, you can feel the movement in the blade a lot more than you can in some of the Monantepees. So, again, if you like skipping through your drills, you're going to really, really enjoy this. If you like doing stuff with Spadones and Monantepees that are quick and flamboyant, this is going to be absolutely lovely for you. It really feels like a very, very slender feather sword. It's interesting. I like it a lot. If somebody was beginning to train with something and they didn't have the musculature to hold a heavier sword, I'd be very, very happy to give this to them, and I will play with it. It's well made. You can feel the movement, you can feel the side sway in this. If you're not cutting dead on line, you can really, really, really feel any sideways movement. Yeah, so you can definitely feel the lateral heft to this when it goes, so it's very good for maintaining edge alignment, I will give it that. I'm very confused. It's very well made. The binding on it is extremely well done, so fit, finish, everything on this is absolutely beautiful. Interesting choice here. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but I'll ask them. But I can see that stopping there being any movement in the cord, but still. No visible tang or joining. It's very, very well made, but I am honestly a little bit bewildered by it. It to me feels too light. If you want to skip, yes. This is lighter in feel than a lot of rapiers that I use. I'm honestly perplexed. I like it. I can see the uses of it for alignment. I have to say, I do not feel that I would use this more than I would use something like my Daniele. And again, I'm being very clear that they are not marketing this as a Montante. But it's exceptionally well made, and yet I do not know how I feel about this. So, for size comparison, here, okay, you can see again, we're really looking at kind of longsword rather than Montante as such, Spadonepee, okay? And I don't think it's entirely fair to me for me to judge it from the perspective of being Montante. But it is going to be used for people doing Marozzo work, so we're looking at a big Spadonepee, we're looking at a big sword for this. And again, I apologise for murdering anybody's language when I'm talking through this. This to me is very, very beautiful. I suspect, for me, this is a little bit too light. And that doesn't mean it's not of quality, it's very, very, very well made. But I feel for me, possibly too slender, too light. And it doesn't make me feel like I'm getting really into the mechanic where I'm following the action of the sword. This is good. This is going to do what you want it to do. If you want to be able to generate the movement with your arms, it's going to be fabulous. If you want to jump all over the place and not really be subject to the momentum of the sword, but to lead the sword yourself, it's going to be excellent. If you want to be led and informed by the blade itself, I would say that a heavier Spadonepee Montante is going to be better for you. For the price point, again, I believe it's about €350, it is exceptionally lovely made. It is a good quality piece of kit. I cannot honestly give you clarity on how I feel about it. It is, something doesn't sit right for me personally, okay? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a very, very vague review because so much of this, I think it's going to be quite a polarizing sword. I think a lot of people love it. And for what it is, yes, it's lovely. It's beautifully made. You could fence with this thing, I believe, quite happily. The edges on it are gently rolled. There's not a particularly aggressive lugging on this. It's quite gentle. The crossguard is all put together beautifully. But for the heft of doing Marozzo drills, for the heft of doing drills where I want to be led by the sword, I don't feel this is quite the right sword for me personally. It is, however, I think very, very well worth the money, and they've done a very good job. I hope this has been helpful. Take care. Bye-bye. So just to go over a couple of these points again, so there's some interesting little choices on here. This is nice. It's going to be beautiful for handling. There is no peened tang, there is no screw tang that you can see, so I assume that this is a screw-on pommel, but it fits nicely. The rubber band, very, very interesting choice. I don't know if that's supposed to stay on or come off. I assume it's supposed to stay on and keep everything in place. That might be because there's an issue of movement in the pommel if it's not there. I do not know, but let's assume the best for the time being. The wrap, the cord wrap, is very, very well done. Very, very happy with that. Interesting that the finish on the crossguard is actually a lot less clean than I expected. And I don't particularly feel that diminishes from it in any way, but I'm just a little bit surprised because the finish on everything else was so crisp and clean. Okay, and you can see the logo and how cleanly everything's finished. And again, that surprised me a little bit. It doesn't take away from it in any way, but just that everything else was so clean. I initially thought that the ends of these were rolled over, but they're not. It's the same on both sides. But I'm surprised that they don't have that same finish all the way through when everything else really is So well done. So interesting little features. This one, very interesting. And just those little cosmetic features as we go. I do think for the money, it's very, very good. You are looking, in my opinion, more at having a very, very posh, manoeuvrable feather than you are something really that I would call a Spadonepee or a Monantepee. But very interesting and a pleasure to own. Take care.